What do you do with a stock of a fast-growing company you really like that gets eviscerated in the wake of some really weaker-than-expected numbers? Hey, listen, that's the question that's been weighing on CyberArk software, CYBR. That's that Israeli cybersecurity play that protects so-called privileged accounts. That's the most common target for hackers because they're basically the keys to the digital kingdom of an enterprise. Now, a month ago, CyberArk shocked me. It pre-announced some weaker-than-expected results, and the stock lost 16% of its value in a single session. Since then, it's kept falling. Last week, the company reported the full quarter, and while the results came in above Wall Street's estimates, you've got to remember that the estimates had already been sliced. Even though CyberArk's revenue grew by 14%, the company's earnings shrank by 27%. Management cut their full-year guidance. Still, when you take a closer look, this quarter might not have been as bad as it seems. CyberArk was hurt by the fact that some deals expected to close in Europe, particularly UK, and got pushed back. That's probably a temporary timing problem. We hope. On the other hand, tepid guidance makes me worry. So is the weakness in this stock a buying opportunity? We got to find this out. Or does the company have longer-term problems that we better be respectful of? Let's take a closer look with Udi Makati. He's the chairman and CEO of CyberArk Software. Always tells us to us straight. Been here many times to get a better sense of how his company's doing and where it is headed. Udi, I was surprised and, of course, disconcerted as you were about the shortfall in pre-announcement in Europe. How far along are we about getting all that business back? And was it new customers or was it just people you were working with that you wanted to add more on and didn't close?
Hi, Jim. It was a combination of new and add-on business that didn't close on time in June. But all of the deals are alive, and as we updated, many of them closed in July and up until now to start Q3. Obviously, we were disappointed after 11 consecutive quarters of beating target, but we took decisive action to put it back on course.
Are there companies that are moving into the privileged account space, larger companies, that are offering deals that undercut you?
No, it wasn't a change in the competitive landscape. It was pure execution and some noise in Europe in June, especially in the UK. But our market leadership is as strong as ever.
Now, you mentioned pure execution. You have made some personnel changes. Initially, I was thinking, what's going on with Udi? Tell me why these changes are better than what we had.
Yeah, I would say that we even overcorrected in a good way. We took this as a catalyst to globalize our sales force and appointed a leading VP of Americas who did very well in our Americas business to be a chief revenue officer, thus globalizing the sales force. So we think we're going to come out strong from this. He's highly respected among his team, so it's a change that was welcome within the company. All
right, let's step back for a second. How bad are things out there? How bad are things in the privileged account space? And give me a sense, the United States is very strong. How are we in this country versus how we should be when the bad guys come?
No, so in our market space, it's very much greenfield. Most companies do not have this layer of security, and there's high demand for it. That's why, as I mentioned, we see a strong opportunity out there. It's a layer that's on top of other security investments that companies have made, and so it is welcomed, and we have a very strong pipeline. Most of the market out there is greenfield. We just talked about this quarter adding 2 Fortune 100 companies. We now have half of the Fortune 100, but most of the market is open ground. Here in the U.S., it's the most highly educated market in terms of awareness and where our pipeline is the strongest, but most companies do not have it. And therefore, we see it as our mission to introduce, educate, and put this layer in place.
How many companies have been attacked that we do not know about that have paid off the bad guys because they did not use CyberArk?
Oh, it's happening on a daily basis, and the attacks are becoming more and more sophisticated, where it's not just encrypting, grandma's computer, but really going after enterprises and either encrypting for ransom, but also destructing, like the NotPetya attack. So it's very much open ground right now. Especially in Europe, they're still not forced to disclose, but beginning of next year, they will actually have to disclose when they are breached, and we think that will expedite the education process of cyber attacks also in Europe.
Speaking of not disclosing, the way that I understand some of these companies are paying off the bad guys is with Bitcoin, which you cannot trace and cannot find. Is that a correct assumption?
It is correct. It is correct. That's the requirement of most of these hackers, and several. I mean, many companies choose to buy Bitcoin in some state or fashion and pay them off. The enterprises that we see and work with are actually trying to be smarter than that and learn from other companies' mistakes and putting the means to prevent such attacks from really taking them down.
One last question. We've had a lot of firings in this country. What are the odds that some of these CEOs, when they left, okay, had accounts that the bad guys see, changed at the top, I'm cracking in, and I'm getting inside that organization, I'm going to find out everything?
They're using social hacking all the time, the attackers, so it doesn't have to be the CEO moving around. It really can be executives and others, but that's just as a means to get in. So but once they're in, they're stealing credentials to really wreak havoc. But the more disruption there is, the more they have ways to send these false emails and get inside.
Well, unfortunately, I think you got a real good business going, and I think you've always been straight with us. If Europe was soft because of things having to do with execution and they're closed, then I think that you've got a real interesting situation going here. Thank you so much to Udi Mokady, Chairman and CEO of CyberArk Software. Always good to see you, sir.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks for having me.
This is unfortunately a real growth business, and the companies that are in it, they've got growth for a long time. Mad Money's back after the break. Booyah! Jim Cramer here from Mad Money. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube. Click here to subscribe and get the jump on my exclusives with CEOs, plus market news, investing advice, and a whole lot more.